Your ambition may be the thing keeping you weak. Not because your dream is too small, because the dream gives you the feeling of power without the burden of proof. It lets you walk through life with a private empire inside your head, while reality sees nothing. No finished project, no public output, no tracked discipline, no offer, no skill sharp enough to be judged, no receipts. You imagine the money, the body, the respect, the freedom, the silence on the faces of the people who doubted you. You imagine the moment when they finally understand that they underestimated the wrong man. And that image feels powerful. It feeds you. It gives you emotional heat. It lets you survive another day of being ignored, dismissed, unsupported, and misunderstood. But outside your head, what exists? That is the question most men avoid. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack desire, but because the answer would expose the difference between what they feel and what they have built. That is not ambition. That is emotional entertainment. Fantasy ambition makes you feel chosen. Real ambition makes you measurable. And if you cannot tolerate being measured, you do not want power. You want the feeling of power without exposure. Machiavelli understood this better than most men ever will. Men judge outcomes, not intentions. They judge what appears in the world, not what burns privately inside your imagination. A man may feel destined for greatness, but the world does not reward destiny. The world rewards proof. The market does not care how badly you want to win. People do not care how misunderstood you feel. Society does not stop to study your potential. It looks at what you have produced, what you control, what you can repeat, and what you can prove. So today I am not here to motivate you. I am here to diagnose you, because the man who refuses diagnosis remains sick while calling himself special. The first brutal sign that your ambition is just a fantasy is this: you consume more than you create. This is the cleanest sign. You watch videos about discipline, but your calendar has no discipline. You watch videos about money, but you are not building a skill. You study successful men, but you do not produce like one. You collect ideas like weapons, but never enter the battlefield. Consumption feels productive because it gives the mind the taste of movement without the cost of action. You watch something powerful and feel stronger. You listen to something strategic and feel smarter. You read something deep and feel superior to the people around you. But when the content ends, your life has not changed. Only your mood changed. That is the trap. A man can spend years learning the language of power while never becoming powerful. He can speak about discipline, leverage, solitude, masculinity, wealth, and dominance, while his daily life remains soft, scattered, and unmeasured. He knows the words, he knows the quotes, he knows the theories. But reality does not kneel before vocabulary. Cal Newport's idea of deep work is useful here. Valuable output comes from long, distraction-free concentration on demanding work, not from endless fragmented consumption. The point is simple. The world does not reward how much you consumed. It rewards what you can produce with focused ability. So here is the rule. For every hour you consume, there must be evidence created. A page written, a message sent, a sample built, a workout logged, a skill practiced, a portfolio improved, a lesson turned into action. If there is no output, you are not learning. You are sedating yourself with the identity of a learner. If you are serious, pause this thought in your mind and ask yourself something cold. What did I create this week that did not exist before? Not what did I watch, not what did I save, not what did I plan. What did I create? If the answer is nothing, your ambition has become a drug, and the drug is not making you stronger. It is making you comfortable with being unfinished. The second brutal sign is this: You keep changing the plan. New niche, new skill, new identity, new business model, new morning routine, new strategy, new guru, new promise, new fantasy, but no accumulated leverage. This is how men stay busy while staying weak. They never stay with one path long enough for proof to compound. The old plan became difficult, so they escape into a new one. The old skill exposed their incompetence, so they call it misalignment. The old offer got ignored, so they decide the market is wrong. The old content received no attention, so they start researching a different niche. The old routine demanded obedience, so they invent a better routine instead of following the first one. The beginner changes direction because the new direction gives him emotional relief. A new plan has no rejection yet, no failure yet, no visible weakness yet, no market judgment yet. It feels clean. It feels possible. It lets the man feel powerful again before reality has the chance to test him. That is why fantasy ambition loves the beginning. The beginning is full of identity. The middle is full of humiliation. And most men do not quit because the path is impossible. They quit because the path starts telling the truth about them. Real ambition narrows. Fantasy ambition keeps searching. The strategic man says, "This is the path, I will improve the machine." The fantasy-driven man says, "Maybe the path is wrong," every time discomfort appears. There is a brutal difference between adjustment and escape. Adjustment uses data. Escape uses emotion. Adjustment says, "This did not work, so I will change the offer, improve the skill, test the message, and repeat." Escape says, "This made me feel small, so I need a new identity." Machiavelli wrote that a ruler who relies entirely on fortune is ruined when it changes. The same law applies to you. If your ambition depends on excitement, novelty, and clean beginnings, then your ambition belongs to fortune, not to you. You are not ruling your path. Your emotions are ruling it. If you want power, you must build accumulated leverage, depth, repetition, data, reputation, proof. A man becomes dangerous when he stops needing every week to feel new. The third brutal sign is this. You call fear research. This one is dangerous because it sounds intelligent. You say you are studying. You say you are preparing. You say you are gathering information. You say you do not want to rush. You say you want to do it properly. But underneath, fear is using information as shelter. You read another book before writing the first page. You watch another tutorial before making the first sample. You compare tools before building the first proof. You study another business model before sending the first offer. You wait until you understand everything because starting with incomplete knowledge would expose your rank. This is why some men know a lot but have built almost nothing. They are not unintelligent. They are unexposed. They have protected themselves from the humiliation of the first attempt. Research should make action sharper. If research keeps action away, it has become cowardice wearing glasses. Even psychology is cruel here. Gabriele Oetingen's work on positive fantasies showed that indulging in a desired future can reduce the energy needed to pursue it. Your dream can reward you before your work does. The fantasy gives emotional satisfaction before the receipt exists. You feel closer to success because you thought about success. But thought without contact becomes anesthesia. That is why your research must end in contact with reality. A note must become a draft. A lesson must become a repetition. A strategy must become a message. A plan must become a calendar block. A business idea must become an offer. A content idea must become a published piece. A desire for strength must become a logged session. If not, you are not researching, you are hiding. And if you are serious about changing that, then listen carefully. If you are the kind of man who has watched hundreds of videos, collected ideas, studied discipline, power, psychology, and strategy, but still has not moved with force, then you need a more demanding environment. Inside Patreon, I go deeper into the unfiltered lessons that do not belong in public, the psychology of power, discipline, solitude, dominance, and the private systems that turn thought into proof. But understand the pressure. If you keep consuming without building, your future will become a museum of intentions. You will know the right words while living the wrong life. You will feel awake while remaining motionless. Inside Patreon, the standard is different. The material is not made for passive viewers. It is made for men who want to turn abandonment into structure, doubt into evidence, and private ambition into public proof. The decision is yours. Power does not live in asking. It lives in making a man choose what exposes him. The fourth brutal sign is this: you need motivation before movement. Weak men wait for emotion. Strategic men build structure. If you need to feel inspired before you act, you are not disciplined. You are emotionally managed. You move when the mood rises. You stop when the mood falls. You work when someone encourages you. You quit when silence returns. You post when confidence appears. You disappear when the market ignores you. This is not ambition. This is obedience to emotional weather. A serious man does not wait for motivation. He creates law. Wake at this time. Train at this time. Train at this time. Work at this time. Create this output. Send this number of messages. Review the day. Correct tomorrow. Law does not ask if you feel ready. Law asks if you obey. This is where many men expose themselves. They say they want freedom, but they cannot command a single morning. They say they want respect, but they negotiate with every weak mood. They say they want power, but their schedule is ruled by impulse. They want the crown, but not the command. They want the result, but not the structure that produces it. If your ambition needs constant emotional fuel, it is not built for war. It is built for performance. And performance dies without an audience. And this is where your private fantasy begins to collapse. Because motivation is easy to worship when nobody is watching your behavior. You can tell yourself you are tired. You can tell yourself you are not in the right state. You can tell yourself tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow does not respect men who keep borrowing from it. Tomorrow only becomes different when today is forced into order. A man who waits for motivation is still asking permission from his own weakness. He is saying, I will move when my feelings allow it. I will build when confidence arrives. I will act when the fear becomes smaller. But fear does not become smaller through waiting. Fear becomes smaller through repeated contact with the thing you avoid. You do not need a better mood. You need a command structure, a fixed time, a fixed output, a fixed standard, a fixed review, a fixed consequence when you fail your own word. This is not romantic, it is not inspiring, it is effective. The men who become undeniable are not always the most talented. They are the men who remove negotiation from the ordinary. They do not wake up and ask, do I feel like becoming powerful today? They already decided. And because they already decided, the day has fewer ways to defeat them. The fifth brutal sign is this: you secretly judge people who are ahead of you. You look at the man with the business and call him lucky. You look at the creator with attention and say he is overrated. You look at the man in shape and say he is obsessed. You look at the man making money and say he probably had help. You look at people ahead of you and search for reasons to lower them. Why? Because their proof threatens your fantasy. Their evidence creates pressure. Their progress makes your excuses look smaller. Their discipline exposes your inconsistency. Their results turn your private story into something measurable. So your ego protects itself by attacking them. This is one of the ugliest forms of weakness. Judgment becomes a shield. If you can convince yourself they are lucky, fake, privileged, shallow, unethical, or overrated, then you do not have to face the gap. You do not have to ask what they repeated that you avoided. You do not have to ask what pain they tolerated that you escaped. You do not have to ask what proof they built while you were still polishing your identity. But the gap remains. You can criticize a man's proof, or you can build your own. One gives relief, the other creates power. A strategic man studies people ahead of him without worship and without resentment. He does not kneel before them, and he does not spit on them. He extracts intelligence. What did he produce? What did he repeat? What skill did he build? What did he tolerate that I avoid? What did he measure that I leave vague? What proof did he create before the world respected him? That is how envy becomes intelligence. Most men waste envy because they use it to protect their pride. A stronger man weaponizes envy. He lets it show him the standard. He lets it show him the gap. He lets it show him the behavior that must change. Machiavelli understood that people judge by appearance more than reality. But the deeper lesson is this: appearance is not enough when reality keeps contradicting it. You may appear ambitious in conversation. You may appear disciplined in your self-image. You may appear destined in your imagination. But if your life has no proof, eventually the appearance breaks. And when it breaks, do not attack the men who exposed you. Study them. The sixth brutal sign is this: you fear being a beginner. Your ego wants status before competence. This is why you do not start. Not because the first step is impossible, because the first step reveals your rank. The first video shows you are not yet a strong communicator. The first sales call shows you are not yet persuasive. The first month in the gym shows you are not yet disciplined. The first offer shows your thinking is still unclear. The first public attempt shows your private identity was ahead of your actual skill. And the ego hates this. It wants to be seen as naturally gifted. It wants to skip the awkward phase. It wants the respect of mastery without the humiliation of repetition. It wants to arrive impressive. It does not want to be trained. But every real operator passed through the phase where his proof was rough. James Dyson is a clean example. Before the product became known, there was not a polished empire. There was frustration. There were crude experiments. There were rough prototypes. His first proof was not beautiful. It was evidence that the idea could survive contact with reality. The important lesson is not that he had a perfect beginning. The important lesson is that the beginning existed. That is what most men avoid. They do not avoid failure. They avoid visible smallness. They would rather keep a perfect dream than create an ugly first version. They would rather be privately talented than publicly trainable. They would rather imagine mastery than endure the first crude proof of incompetence. But ugly proof is stronger than beautiful fantasy. One rough project is stronger than 10 perfect ideas. One rejected offer is stronger than a month of sales theory. One awkward video is stronger than a private dream of becoming a creator. One tracked habit is stronger than claiming discipline. One finished sample is stronger than saying you are talented. Because proof touches reality, fantasy only touches ego. The beginner who can tolerate being bad becomes trainable. The beginner who needs to look special remains trapped. So ask yourself this: are you avoiding the first step because it is hard, or because it would reveal that you are not yet who you pretend to be? That question is not comfortable. That is why it is useful. The seventh brutal sign is this: your life has no receipts. This is the final judgment. No finished projects, no public output, no tracked discipline, no portfolio, no outreach data, no sales attempts, no money behavior recorded, no visible skill growth, no evidence that your ambition has touched reality, just intentions, plans, notes, saved videos, private confidence, future talk. This is fantasy ambition, because real ambition leaves evidence. A receipt is anything that proves movement, a completed page, a published post, a finished sample, a sent message, a rejected offer, a workout log, a tracked dollar, a case study, a portfolio update, a client call, a product test, a daily output. Receipts make you measurable. That is why fantasy hates them, because once receipts exist, you can no longer lie cleanly. You can see whether you actually moved. You can see whether you are improving. You can see whether the market responded. You can see whether your discipline exists outside your imagination. This is where most men are exposed. They say they are ambitious, but their calendar disagrees. They say they want money, but their skill level disagrees. They say they want respect, but their proof disagrees. They say they are serious, but their receipts disagree. And receipts do not care about your self-image. They record reality. So here is the action. Build a 30-day receipt list. For the next 30 days, every day must leave proof. Not feelings, not intentions, proof. Day 1, create one ugly output. Day 2, improve one part of it. Day 3, publish or show something. Day 4, practice one skill inside a focused block. Day 5, send one market contact. Day 6, document one lesson. Day 7, review proof, not mood. Then repeat the cycle. At the end of 30 days, ask one question. What evidence exists now that did not exist 30 days ago? If the answer is nothing, your ambition was theater. If the answer is proof, even ugly proof, you are beginning to move. Do not underestimate ugly proof. Ugly proof is where power begins because it gives reality something to respond to. The world cannot reward an idea trapped inside your head. It cannot reject it either. That is why fantasy feels safe. It cannot be judged. It cannot be ignored by the market. It cannot be compared. It cannot be exposed as average. But proof can. And that is exactly why proof matters. A fantasy cannot become stronger because nothing touches it. Proof can be attacked, improved, sharpened, rejected, rebuilt, tested, and repeated. Proof enters the world and starts collecting information. Fantasy stays private and protects your ego from data. You do not need more private confidence, you need public evidence. If you are serious, and I mean serious, not entertained, not curious, not temporarily inspired, then stop letting your ambition remain theoretical. Inside Patreon, I share the deeper and more unfiltered material for men who want the private architecture behind discipline, power, self-command, and psychological independence. Not polished comfort. Not motivational noise. The raw frameworks that make a man harder to manipulate and harder to ignore. Because here is the problem. You are watching a lot. You are thinking a lot. You are saving a lot. But if you continue collecting insight without building proof, your mind will become crowded and your life will remain empty. You will become the kind of man who understands power from a distance but never touches it. Inside Patreon, the focus is different. It is for men who want to stop being spectators of their own potential. Men who want to turn solitude into structure. Men who want to convert pain into standards. Men who want receipts, not fantasies. The decision is yours. No one is coming to drag you into your future. And if someone had to drag you there, it would not be power, it would be dependence. This is the final law. Fantasy ambition makes you feel chosen. Real ambition makes you measurable. And if you cannot tolerate being measured, you do not want power. You want the feeling of power without exposure. That must end. Your dream is not sacred until it has survived action. Your ambition is not serious until it has produced receipts. Your potential does not matter until it becomes proof. So diagnose yourself without mercy. Do you consume more than you create? Do you keep changing the plan? Do you call fear research? Do you need motivation before movement? Do you judge people who are ahead of you? Do you fear being a beginner? Does your life have no receipts? If the answer is yes, do not collapse. Correct. Destroy the private theater. Build the public evidence. Stop trying to feel chosen. Start becoming measurable. For the next 30 days, stop asking whether you are motivated. Ask what proof exists. 1 page, 1 repetition, 1 message, 1 offer, 1 published piece, 1 tracked action, 1 completed task that reality can see. Because the man who can measure himself can correct himself. The man who can correct himself can compound. And the man who compounds long enough becomes difficult to deny. Subscribe to Depths of Psyche if you are ready to stop pretending and start proving.